All systems go. All right, everyone see me? Everyone hear me? You can hear me?
See.
So I got a really exciting day today. We have Victoria Quinn in the studio, and we got Paul Roy in the studio. Victoria is going to be helping us out with producing, or at least she did today, and I'm really grateful for it. Thank you, Victoria, for helping me do that. I like to do all the cool graphics. I like to work on my spaceship that you see behind me kind of thing. Doing all the paperwork with the aggregating links, finding cool videos, articles we can talk about, books. Victoria is a knowledge explorer. She's bringing a lot to the table. I'm really excited to have her in the studio. Hello, Victoria. And we have Paul Roy in the studio. How you doing, Paul?
I'm good.
Always good to have you back.
Good to be here.
So we got a pretty serious topic today. It's an extinction level event.
It is. And
it seems to be, excuse me for using a really nerdy word, a multivariated situation. So, we have when you think extinction level event, what do you think of?
I think of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. And I think our asteroid is not so obvious. That's what we're going to talk about.
What do you think, Victoria? Even though I know obviously you know what this show is about, but had you not known the things that you know, what would you think of when I say extinction level event?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Maybe a flood or
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark. There you go.
Meteorite.
So this is a different kind of extinction level event because it has to do with, first of all, getting through the minefield of what dating is like now, and finding someone that you actually like enough to spend time with all the time and perhaps start a family. Oh, here we go. There's an infertility epidemic. So even people that want to have children can't. And that's the situation that you guys are breaking right now. I didn't know anything about this, right? So we got some articles here that we're going to go through, and we're going to talk about exactly what the problem is. If you guys could help me understand, I'd really appreciate that. What is the infertility epidemic, Victoria?
That is a great question. So when I was becoming aware of the infertility epidemic, I realized that I actually figured out that I myself am a little bit in a crisis because I had applied a few years ago to donate my eggs and I was rejected because my anti-Malarian levels were not, on par with what they wanted. And so...
Whoa. What? Anti-malarial?
Malarian, yeah.
Anti-malaria. So are they referring to the... there's a recessive gene in people from subtropical countries that can result in sickle cell anemia if you have two people that carry it and then you lose that game of Plinko somehow and end up with two of those genes, you're a dead man or girl. Like, it's called sickle cell anemia. But I'm not going to assume anything, but you look to me like you're Filipino. That doesn't exist in Filipino. So it's got to be something else. Did they go into any more detail other than that?
Not much, but...
And how off am I, by the way, on my guessing?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. As far as ethnicity, yeah, I'm Filipina, Spaniard, and Italian.
Nice. Awesome.
But as far as like the fertility egg clinic, they didn't really go much into why. And so doing a lot of research into what is causing infertility, it can be a definite range of factors, but I would like to talk about how stress plays a huge part in it, because especially being raised in a society which is all about the running, chasing, fear-based, fear-mongering society, we we are raised with parents who are already under the system. So then
Yeah.
parents raising their children are already indoctrinated.
Oh, I
And,
mean, you want to talk about psyops. The boomers got the opportunity of getting the newer and more refined version of the psyops that their parents did, right? Their parents, the United States had no intention of going to Europe and shooting people when that war was going on. They had to run a very, very thick and well thought out marketing campaign for that war to even get people to care about it, because it didn't affect Americans at all. There's something else going on. So they did manage to psyop the generation ahead of the boomers. They call them the greatest generation. That's debatable. The boomers, 100%, I think, were hammered with it. It was like, oh, it worked. We got them to go to a war that was absolutely unnecessary to be involved in. What else can we do? Let's make them hate each other. Let's make them breed less. Why? Why would they want to do this, I wonder? Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
it's a good question. Do you have any insight on it?
On specifically what? Infertility?
Like infertility, yeah.
Well, this is near and dear to my heart because I suffered from it. So in my early 30s, I lost my testosterone. I lost my fertility. And so I spent a good 4 or 5 years learning everything to get that back. And I am probably the greatest N=1 for that. And I help other people to do that today through what I learned over those 4 or 5 years. So I've always been involved in health and wellness since my early 20s. And I hit a wall in my 30s. I lost my testosterone, like I said, and that pretty much cascaded everything down in my systems, my digestion, my sleep, everything. Domino affected down from that. It was a humbling experience because I thought I knew a lot about health and wellness. And I found out the hard way that it's a lot more than eating clean, going to the gym, and the usual things that they teach you. So I really had to learn about biophysics and nature. And I plugged myself back into nature, essentially. And I figured out the things that make humans human, the things that makes animals animals, and why we exist on this planet. And it really comes down to the electromagnetic field that you're exposed to. And we can talk about a little bit more, but yeah, I did a lot of
EMFs.
Yeah, and not just EMFs. You think of Wi-Fi. I mean everything. I mean the light. I mean the sound. I mean everything that's natural in our world. We are beings of light. You are emitting light from your body. So everything really is on the electromagnetic spectrum at the end of the day. But I had to really learn about the invisible. And when you talked about earlier, what is the extinction level event? And I said, the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, well, our asteroid is invisible, unfortunately, to most people. And I had to make the invisible visible to myself in order to figure out what I needed to add back into my life and what I needed to take away. So we'll get into the nitty-gritty, but that's just kind of my quick background with this kind of stuff.
Wow. So right here it says, the CDC states that in heterosexual women, it's important to make that distinction.
Yeah.
15 to 49 years who have never given birth, 19%. That's 1 in 5.
Yeah.
1 in 5 people, even if they wanted to, are infertile.
Guess what?
That's insane.
If you're an infertility doc, you are printing money right now.
Wow.
And they are not solving the issue, right?
No.
Allopathic medicine is not. And I went through the system a little bit myself. Like I was, obviously I took my infertility into my own hands.
Yeah.
But I had to dabble into the system. Like I got the test, right? Like I got my motility tested, my sperm count, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had to figure out what was going on.
Is that what they call it? Motility?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things they measure.
Motility?
It's like, is it moving correctly? Is there enough movement there?
It's not mobility, it's motility.
Motility, that's
it's
right.
utility and movement combined.
Right, so I had to go through the system to get certain tests done for sure.
Yeah.
But they were inept at actually figuring out what was going on, just like there with everything. So I used the system where I could to get some data, and then I used that to my advantage to leverage what I was doing on the other end to bring everything back into order. Yeah.
So did you decide to start using light and sound frequency to heal yourself, and have you seen the results from that?
Oh yeah, I still do. So everything that I learned then, I still practice now. I have a sun gazing practice that I've had for about 10 years. And so one of the things I noticed I started a meditation practice, just mindfulness around that time, just to relieve stress. And on the mornings that I would go outside and meditate in the morning when I got up, in the sunrise, I was like, I feel so much better on those days. Why is it that when I meditate inside in the morning at the same time, it's like, there's something to this. And I came across a lot of people that were talking about light, like natural light and sunlight, how we can use sunlight to heal ourselves. And I was like, okay, well, that works. What else are they talking about? And then I got into cold therapy. That was also a thing. And I figured out that was a key to actually turn my my junk back on, basically. That's really what the trick was to that part. But the real problem was in my pituitary gland. They weren't communicating.
Right.
That was the real issue. That was working. It wasn't optimal. But once I started doing cold therapy on a regular basis, they were like, when I got the tests back, they're like, yeah, you're above average and everything now.
Wow.
But still, my pituitary gland wasn't firing, so I had to solve the other end of the equation on the top half. But yeah, I use light is something that I use every day. It's probably one of the most, in my specific process, so I'm a lifestyle and environmental coach, and I have an order of operations of things that I take people through, and light is generally the first thing in the order of operations. And that includes natural light that we're getting or not getting, especially when you live in a place like Canada, where I'm originally from. It's a big problem. And then you have the artificial light that everybody's exposed to and we really take for granted. And so there's two ends here. It's like, what do we have to add back in? What do we have to subtract? So I learned all the science behind photomodulation and, the actual, putting that into effect, of me getting back in and getting the right frequencies of light at the right times, how light affects everything. It really does affect everything. When they say we're beings of light, we really are beings of light from a scientific viewpoint. In fact, we emit extreme low frequency UV light from our cells when we're stressed. We are always emitting infrared light. Obviously, if you throw yourself under one of those infrared light cameras, if you're running from the police, that's how they'll find you. We are literally beings of light in many ways. And we need to take the light in from external sources, but we also need to make the light internally. I don't know why I'm going on this rant.
Well, I mean,
This is awesome.
Wait.
so it
Get
says
lost in the weeds.
there's also an important statistic here that is more of a sociology thing. Hold on, let me get my my screen share going here. You can, there it is. You can, oh, no, it isn't. All right, well, I had the website up a second ago, but anyways, it's saying that by the time a woman is 35, fertility decreases exponentially. This is because women are born with a limited egg supply that starts decreasing before the first period starts, and this decrease is very rapid in the mid-30s. Is this something that's being taken into account with the, trajectory of the average woman in her professional life and what's expected from them these days?
Well, I mean, that goes back to the psyop thing, I didn't really want to get into the weeds with this, but I mean, education since, the 50s and 60s obviously has been infiltrated, right? And so, that's one thing that's been infiltrated is the destruction of the family, the destruction of feminism or femininity, like real femininity.
Right.
Through feminism.
Yeah.
Radical feminism, I should say. But I would also say, not to get into those weeds, but what came to mind is talking about the eggs, is that really this stuff starts like 3 generations before. Mm-hmm. So in the mitochondrial health of your grandmother is going to determine what your fertility is today. We pass down the mitochondrial DNA from our mother's side only. And so they can be exposed to things 3 generations ago, whether that be like physical toxins or it could be like emotional, like trauma, and that can affect 2 generations down. And so you can be an egg that's been affected from 2 generations before. So in order to fix some of this stuff, this is a generational thing. It's not just like, like I was able to fix myself today, but for the mothers out there, they're really doing stuff for their great grandchildren at the end of the day.
I don't think that mentality exists anymore. I think that's been systematically removed from our culture, is to consider the generations down the line. that is not brought up at all, like at all. And then, go figure what, 2 days ago, they just made a massive capital gains tax in Canada, which again is like, well, any resources that I accumulate that I want to pass on to my kids, the government's going to take them anyway. Why do I even care about having kids?
Right. Yeah, they're incentivizing not having kids. So we're having the environment that's destroying our fertility, and then what you're talking about as well, they're incentivizing that. We're being psyoped into that. So, I can't remember, I brought this up in another podcast. There's somebody in the kind of like the truth movement that we run with. I can't remember their name. They did a podcast, and they're like, the most radical thing you could do is to have children now, and to like
Wow.
raise like little freedom fighters or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like actually educated children outside of the system, right? Homeschool, whatever your flavor is. But that's kind of like the most radical way to change that's the only way you're really going to change the world, because they have it so unlocked now that the generations that exist now that are growing up and the ones coming, this is all normalized to them. Like, I feel like connecting with them sometimes to me is like, I don't even take for granted the chasm that it is even between our generation, like my generations and the ones that are growing up now. Like, it's exponentially going quicker and quicker and quicker.
There's a saying now, so I'm in between millennials and Gen Z, so I'm 95, but there's a saying that animals are the new children, plants are the new animals, and then children are for rich people. So that's basically what people around my age are saying now.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
this article is definitely, allopathic based, right? It's like they're saying our environment affects fertility, and it's like, I don't know what these are. What are these, steroids?
No, some of those are.
Well, finasterides for hair loss.
Yes, a lot of those are like, oh my God, I'm blanking on it. The flutamide. Like those are prescription drugs.
Well, I can look it up. Butylamine. See what this is.
Ooh, in Espanol.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How do you change the language?
I have problems with that also in Google.
There it
I don't
is.
use Google, but on my browser for Firefox, it always wants to go to Espanol.
Yeah. So it belongs to anti-androgens.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was thinking that. So like, yeah, this is for, well, if you wanted to change your gender, this is something you would probably use.
Oh, so if you're concerned about your fertility, maybe you should consider not changing your gender.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. They're incentivizing. They're pushing the drugs.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then again, let's go back into this. It says at the end, here's your solution. There it is. So the author of this article solved the whole problem, and here's the solution according to them.
Yeah.
Control your lifestyle without any details. Don't smoke. Don't drink. Maintain a healthy weight. Manage stress. Well, that's okay. That's not bad advice.
But they don't really talk about the environment, which is what you're talking about in regards to EMF exposure. Because
There seems to be a hole there, yeah.
Yeah, well, they're telling you the right things, but they don't tell you the roadmap how to get there, right? And even if they did put on that roadmap, they're missing huge pieces of the puzzle because they don't understand any of this stuff. And the literature is there. Like what I'm talking about, it's there. They're not obviously taught that in medical school. And a lot of it goes against, obviously the prescription drugs and the pharmaceutical industry obviously wants to keep this.
I got a big bone to pick with allopathic medicine in that they try and compartmentalize all of the things they say. Like you're a dumb normal human. You're not a a health school graduate.
Yeah, we're the
therefore
authority figure.
we're not going to give you like the details. Like in your situation, it's like, what the fuck is a malarial, like what does that even have to do with anything?
it's basically my egg count. So saying that my egg count is too low at the age that I was. So I was 26 when I tried to donate. So
What are they like? Yeah, I'm trying to make sense of the feedback they gave you, though. I mean, Okay.
It was in an email.
Did they, right. And it's like, did they count all the eggs you have? Like, how could they?
It was on like a 2.1 out of like a 2.4 or 6 or something like that. It was, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, really, I really want to pull apart this malaria thing. Like, what the hell? What is that?
You can look up anti-malarian.
How many times have you had malaria?
Oh, Mullerian. Malarian.
Yeah, Malarian, not malaria. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, all right. Well, that explains that. I don't know what that means. Mullerian. Okay.
But some interesting facts I found. All treatment costs for infertility can range from $5,000 to $73,000.
Cha-ching.
An estimated 85% of IVF costs are often paid out of pocket. IVF children are more frequently admitted to hospitals than non-IVF children. So people who are having children with allopathic treatment, they're setting up their children for bad health.
Correct.
Yeah.
To begin with.
And that's the entire allopathic model, is that they give you a solution which then has 52 side effects that keeps you in the system and you can never get out. You know, you
Very
walk
clever.
in for an operation, and then we botched that, so now you're on this for the rest of your life, or now you're subject to our whatever it is that you kind of get roped into by it.
So, do you think
Opting in.
and this is for both of you, do you think what affects this situation more? The kind of social aspects of it, like waiting too long to start a family and the whole feminism thing, or is it environmental, or is it a mix of both?
I'd say it's a mix of both, always. I mean, nothing's
Does
black
it
and white.
slant to one side or the other? Because I think,
For me, it's
if I could-
context.
if I was a nefarious trillionaire, using my resources to, run humanity like a cattle plantation, I wouldn't even bother with the complicated stuff. I'd take the low-hanging fruit. If we can just convince people to act like idiots or act against their own interest, I should say, why would I even bother poisoning them?
That's a good question. Yeah, you would think it would be like that.
Or maybe it's just two competing technologies of oppression.
That's true. And also, I think that there's, from the physical side of things and not the psyop side, I think a lot of this stuff is also, it's not all actually intentional. I think it's just a lot of it's just the product of the technology that we've made. Right?
Like lead in gasoline.
Yeah.
It makes your engine run better. It
Yeah,
really does.
like-
but it destroys your brain.
Think of it this way. It's like all of our modern technology that we have, it's kind of based somewhere along the line that we're trying to subjugate nature. We're better than nature.
Right.
So you can't be. Actually, everything that we've created really has its roots in nature. Like any technology that we have, technically you can look for its like equivalent in nature, even though we don't see it. But we don't see that, so we think we're always trying to be better and one-up nature. You can never do that. So you always end up with these unintended side effects from that. For instance, when you introduce an invasive species into an ecosystem that can't handle it, then you create chaos. And it's essentially what we've done. So they're not trying to create the chaos, but it's just our, like, as human beings, our what's the word I'm trying to say? Like our ignorance or our
Foolhardiness. Maybe,
yeah,
like that.
we don't attack. If we had our technology that was based working with nature to begin with, we wouldn't have all these unintended side effects, right? So it's just kind of the way that it is. Even without people trying to be nefarious, it's just you're going to end up there anyways.
We've been constantly playing God. Like the human species has been constantly playing God.
Arrogance.
Arrogance, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And the secrets are in nature, like sacred geometry and and electroculture and stuff like that. There's so much stuff that we're uncovering that's been around for thousands of years.
Well, we
Like-
are, and that's why you got to tune into this show, because we're figuring it all out.
Yeah.
Here's a study from the 70s to the 90s, and this one is kind of weighing in on what I think the issue is, which is a social thing. that said, I do think we are being bombarded with chemicals and lifestyle things that are definitely working against our favor. But I really do think that this is like a psyop. So this is going to the 1975 to 1990, and you can see the thesis of this is delaying pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So again, this is, the pushing girls into competing with men and becoming professionals and being away from home all the time. It's really not conducive with nature, or at least it's pushing in one way too hard. I think people should be free to pursue the things they want to do and be able to live a life, but they should have all the facts. And the fact is that, like, especially for women, your clock is ticking for having kids way sooner than men. You live life, I think women live life on fast forward compared to guys. Even going back to school, like in my own experience, my own anecdotal experience, when I was 12, the girls looked like they were 20. You know what I mean? They mature faster. Their brain matures faster. They're smarter faster. That's why the girls do a lot better in school. I don't think boys and girls should be in the same school. I think they should be completely separate because they're completely different. And I know I'll get debated on that or attacked. I don't care. Women and men are totally different. They need totally different things. They are interested in totally different things. And the fundamentals of the progression of our species even surviving depends on recognizing those differences and at least having an honest and factual ability to talk about them, rather than people getting incensed when you say, like, if you want to have a family, maybe you should find a guy that's older than you, that's more established and has the resources to start a family. Like, historically, men didn't even get married until they were in their mid-30s, whereas women would get married when they're 17. Like that. And it would usually be an arranged marriage. And I can pull up statistics on arranged marriages versus normal marriages, and it's pretty eye-opening. The arranged marriages have like a 2% divorce rate. Normal marriages, it's 6 out of 10 or maybe higher now. Brazil, it's 9 out of 10. Literally no relationships work out. If a lot of girls, when they were taught younger, because right now they're basically saying you're whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can be a man. You can live a man's lifestyle and pursue wealth and focus 16 hours a day on your job, and your job is your identity. And it's like, fine, do that, but also be aware that you might not like doing that for your entire life. You may want to have children, and you won't be able to go back in time and get that fertility that you had when you were 17 or 25 or whatever, when you're in that range where they're not saying that. They're not telling people this. So you have people going out with false pretenses, and that leads to disaster. And I mean, as a technician, I'm always looking for the problem that's going to happen. It makes it kind of annoying to hang out with me sometimes because it makes, I'm anxious and I'm always looking for problems or pointing out problems. But I think if you don't have someone doing that, the pain and suffering that results massively overshadows the small amount of annoyance it is for some know-it-all, guy to say, like, hey, you got a problem. You got a problem with that. You might not have it all figured out. You think you do, but you don't. It's like, what do you mean I don't have it all figured out? My ego doesn't like hearing that. But it's the thing is like 10 years down the line, you'll be like, yeah, that annoying guy, he was fucking right. And, I'm glad I had that knowledge, because if I didn't, I would be in a really bad situation mentally right now. But I did, so I decided I don't want kids. I want to work forever, and that's what I want to do. Cool. But having people do that and not realize, like, oh, I'm 35, maybe I should, like, buckle down and start a family. It's like, well, you have a lot, as you can see here on the last article we were just on, you got a lot of things working against you. Now, the advantage that we have is we got people like Paul and people like Victoria here who are figuring out ways that there is some leeway with nature. And if we provide what the body wants in harmony with nature, we can get away with a lot of things. There's women who have babies in their 40s and even 50s. Like, it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. And perhaps the workaholic young lady trying to be a CEO, if she's aware of these things and knows, maybe she can mitigate, and still do all the things that she wants to do. But the thing is like, well, we have to talk about it. We have to be able to say, and also it's like, you are going against nature. If you are trying to delay having children, you're playing odds now.
The system that we're in, like the psyop that we talk about, does so many things, like watching society and what demographics are going towards, and then finding ways to divide men and women.
Big time.
Divide, of course, it's like Republicans or Democrats, men, women,
Black,
gay
white,
community,
gay,
homophobe,
straight.
yeah, all that stuff. And so as far as like the division with men and women, so as it is admirable to work hard for things that we're passionate about and to have our businesses and things like that. But yeah, the feminists, I do see here with the feminist movement on the, there's an underlying, like, sometimes we can feel an underlying, like, need for competition, or I have to show that I am worth something in society by competing, getting to these levels.
So and I mean, I want to point something out right there. The subtext to that is that your default setting is you're not worth something unless.
Right.
There's a problem there.
And to who?
Right. and this is like the psychology that's going on in like young people's heads. And that's not, I think that's manipulative.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, there's a psyop going on, but there's also the in your own mind, in your own consciousness, right? This narrative that's playing out that we don't even know that's there, that's been seeded in us. Right?
I always thought that I was, kind of immune to most psyops, I literally studied the creation of psyops and wrote papers on it when I was in university. So I could create psyops, and I understand the mechanics of it more or less, at least the stuff that they release to university students. I'm sure they have an entire several buildings full of hundreds of psychologists that have advanced the MK Ultra hypnotism shit to levels that are even more crazy. But what I was going to say was I was doing some crypto trading the other day, sort of out of the blue, like sort of randomly. Like I didn't like read something that's compelled me to start going into my crypto wallets and doing stuff. But I was like, I have to do trades today. I don't know why, I just do. And the Ethereum fees were insane. Remember that day? It was like 130. The gas prices were like crazy high. And I was like, I have to make these trades. I'm just going to take the hit. And then like 2 days later, they were back down to like 1, 2, 3, like 150 versus 1. That's a huge difference. That means it's really expensive to move crypto around when the gas fees are high. That's what for those that don't know. But I moved crypto around on a day that the gas fees were really high. And then 2 days later, they were really low. And then I reflected on it. And I'm thinking, the gas fees are high because a lot of other people are moving crypto around at the exact same time. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, was I subliminally hacked somehow?
Well, yeah.
Like days prior to like do trades on this day?
Sure.
The same day that everyone else is?
Well, a little bit, yeah, because that's how the market works as a whole. I don't want to get into these weeds either. But I mean, if you look at a chart in the markets, it's basically human psychology blasted on that
Yes.
chart.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fear and greed. So
Right. The fear and greed index is a amusing metric on some of those sites. Anyway, so I was thinking that maybe I'm not fully immune
no, I
to
mean,
psyops because
nobody is, right?
like subconsciously, so much of our behavior comes out of the subconscious, and the whole psyop realm, like it does actually come from psychology. It comes from psychologists who developed this stuff. It started out with hypnotism. Hypnotism was the first technique they found that they could start getting into the subconscious, and then that's something that like roadside gypsies will do. right? They just do it because it works. Psychologists got a hold of this and started pulling it apart scientifically. Like they can figure out if you're looking to the left or the right, you know, it activates certain neurology. If I want to think of something creative, I look to the left. There's a whole eye chart. So they've gone in and pulled it apart scientifically and have really, really improved the induction methods. The induction methods an induction is how you put someone into a trance, and there's lots of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Some ways are pleasurable, some are not. Most of them are pleasurable, though.
I mean, we're all in, like, even without the psyops, I mean, we're all in a trance. Like, being these, you know, spiritual beings living in a physical body, we're almost being psyoped in a way.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you've got the institutions and the people we don't, you know, want to be psyoped by, but at the same time, we're like, life is but a dream at the same time as well, right? It's like
Yeah.
the macro of that.
And we forget that we are unity consciousness, whether we are in these physical bodies or not. Like, and so looking around and seeing all of this, you know, all of the material, the, you know, you guys, the plants outside, it's like, oh wait, I can still reach the universe, God, source, all that is, like, in here.
Right.
As long as I'm clear and my intentions are clear and I know how to do so.
Yeah. There's a great book. I just actually was just thinking here. I forgot about this book. It's called Awareness. I can't remember who the author is, but it kind of deals with this. It's a short book, but it's a great book. It kind of deals with the, like, what I was talking about, what we're talking about. It's like, it's so, the clarity, the awareness is just 1 second away. It's just one
Give me a
glimpse
keyword,
away.
I can pull it up.
Man, what's his name? I don't know. The book is called Awareness. You could say like spirituality or like, you know, self-help. It would be in that kind of realm.
Oh, that's a bit loose.
I know.
I don't know if I'll be able to zero in with that
What's
recon.
his,
You probably have to write a book.
He was.
True. That is
Yeah.
true. Very good.
Yeah, that's a good one. He was actually like, oh, you know, now I remember.
Spirituality of awareness?
No.
Spiritual awareness.
No, none of these. So actually, can't remember his name, but he was an ex-Jesuit. So if you know anything about the Jesuits, they're trained in like psyops.
I didn't know
basically.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. They created propaganda, right? Oh, there it is. Anthony DeMelo, Awareness.
Okay, here it is.
Yeah, it's a great book.
So here, this is what I'm talking about with the, let me put it up so you can see it. Or can you see it? Or I guess you can always see it.
I did see it, but now it's...
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. So we have some kind of hacker situation. If I refresh the page, it'll work.
Oh, there you go.
But the first time I load up a website,
Yeah.
it gives me like funny HTML, and I don't know. I wonder if we're being monitored.
We're being monitored. Everybody's being monitored.
We're being packet
Hello,
inspected.
NSA.
How you doing, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so Anthony DeMelo, Awareness,
Yeah, he mixes like Eastern and Western kind of spiritual practices
Christian
together.
spirituality, Buddhist parables, Hindu breathing exercise, and psychological insight. DeMelo's
Yeah.
words of hope come together in a grand sense. I like that. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's
I think cherry picking the best aspects of philosophies, ancient, modern, is the way to go, man. Just let the cream rise to the top.
Exactly.
To quote the Macho Man Randy Savage,
sure.
the cream rises to the top.
That's right. I mean, there's, I'm not, beholden to any sort of religiosity or anything like that, but I love to find the nuggets that exist in each one of these different, so anybody that can, what's the word?
In terms of authenticity, are you, Victoria, are you religious in a way? Do you prescribe to any of them?
I do not to any religious institutions. However, I like picking the things that work for me with each of them.
Yeah.
That align with love over fear.
Nice.
There you go. That's a good one.
Oh,
I like that.
That's pretty straightforward
I
right
like that.
there.
Yeah.
I've never, I find mythics. I like reading evolution books and anthropology stuff. Excuse me. I always had trouble getting into religious literature, and I still do. I find it to be a bunch of poetic nonsense for children, most of it. But there's a lot of really, really good stuff in there. And I mean, it goes, obviously there's several psychologists that have delved into how there's a lot more to these scriptures than meet the eye, which is my assessment of it. Is it's like little children fables to teach you not to smack your little cousin.
That's one way to look at it.
Or steal shit from stores. But what really interests me is the ones that are the least adulterated and the oldest. So
Interesting.
Hinduism and Buddhism
Yeah.
are my favorites. I'm not a Hindu, I'm not a Buddha, but if I was to, take 2 years to be super religious, I would probably go towards Buddhism. And it ties into the what you were saying, how everyone is an expression of everyone else in a way. Like there's a God source, and it's Buddhism is very much acknowledges that, and that's where the concept of karma comes in.
Namaste.
Right.
And people even say that Buddhism isn't a religion; it's a way of life. It's a
That's
way
right.
of living.
Yeah.
I mean, there's dogmas within everything, and even within Buddhism. But at least anybody can practice those things, and you don't need to be, baptized or whatever, or entered into some.
Well,
cult.
I mean, how much of Buddhism actually plays a role in your exact teachings for human optimization?
Oh my God, a
Like
lot.
how much crossover is there?
There's a lot. I always keep coming back to Buddhism now and mindfulness. It's like it just seems to work. It's like the thing that always come back to. It's like this is, I don't know. I always seem to come back to it. But yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah.
So okay,
we got off on the weeds here a little bit.
well,
as we usually
that's
do.
the idea.
How does Buddhism relate to infertility?
Well, I mean, it's a great way
Karma?
to yeah, karma. I mean, yeah, like you were just saying, how does that relate to like the practices that I do in terms of my mindset module? Like, there's tons of things that have crossover from Eastern practices and we can use on a daily basis. I mean, I started off with mindfulness, and that was really what took me on that journey. But now there's so many tools related to that in terms of meditation, in terms of, I'll give people different sorts of meditations, different sorts of breathing practices that have roots, obviously, in the East. My Buteyko breathing practice, obviously it's from the yogic tradition originally. Pranayama. And then a lot of the stuff is rooted in kind of mindfulness, the meditations that I like. So yeah, I mean, I always come back to that Eastern kind of stuff.
So here's an article about male infertility
Oh boy.
and sperm. Did you want to chime in on that, Victoria? You can go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, before this, I did want to ask, did you hear that there's like a 5.5 second inhale and exhale, and it's like a practice that's used in Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity with the rosary, the Om Mani Padme Om, and
yeah.
it's the really light breathing, the 5.5 seconds in and out, and it's like that's the easiest way for me to go back into center whenever I don't feel like I'm myself.
I mean, the breath is a great anchor. The only thing I would say to that, though, is I like to actually increase the exhale, even if it's by a second or two, because that'll actually activate
The parasympathetic.
Yeah, better if you just do a little bit extra on the exhale. But yeah, exactly. It's interesting that they all have those roots. I mean, everything, all the good stuff, I think it goes back to the same place.
So for those that don't know, could you run me through the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic? Victoria, or do you want to ask about it?
She's pointing at me. So
Either one of you.
So it's your flight or flight response, also known as. So we want our parasympathetic systems to be active when we're doing things like digestion, when we're chilling out, when we're not running from tigers, right? And that's really what the parasympathetic is there for, is to get you away from danger, right? The problem is in our modern world is we constantly have these paper tigers that are chasing us. So, your phone is a stressor. Every time you have dings going off, and like please, like, turn off your notifications, like, as much as you can. All the different, like, notifications from social media, all this stuff.
I'm with you on that.
That's juicing up your cortisol levels, right? Activating that parasympathetic. The jobs that we have, they're with us 24 hours a day. A lot of people, like, even if you work from home, you're beholden to your job. Like, you're working from home. And you're supposed to be working less hours now.
That's what the work from home lie,
right?
That's where you figure that out later on. You're
working.
always at work.
That's right.
There's no separation.
Right? So that stress always carries with us. So we need a way to, obviously, those are inputs that are coming in that are juicing our cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone, and activating that. But we have to, in the modern world, we're really always operating almost in that sympathetic dominance. So we need to find ways, like using mindfulness, like using different things. Another thing I like to use was heart math in the beginning. So for those that don't know, heart math measures your heart rate variability. And this is a way to actually quantify whether you're in a parasympathetic or sympathetic state. And it gives you biofeedback saying, like, okay, you're doing these breathing practices, you breathe out, you breathe in with a timer, and it will give you like a feedback saying, okay, you're moving towards that parasympathetic state. And it trains you on levels, it like gamifies it so that you move up the levels, and that you could be under stressful situations and still be in parasympathetic. Like, I actually went as far as to, because that's just me, being like in my 20s and just, I'm gonna do it the best that I can. I would use it while I was driving. So that, like, I would, like, even be like, I'd make sure that I would not go into a parasympathetic state when someone would cut me off or whatever. Like, I like took it to that level, right? Another great thing which we can talk about too in training that state for me was to do things that were uncomfortable and still be able to maintain the breath and come back to it. So one of the most difficult things to do was to be immersed in ice water and to be able to find the breath, calm the breath down, and then that carries on to your everyday life. Just like with meditation, you're doing the practice sitting, not just in that moment, but you carry it with you. And the same thing with the ice baths or the hopping into the frozen lake like I did every day. That carried with me into the world to make my nervous system to be able to not get triggered like it would, and have more of a parasympathetic state even in the stressful situations. So again, we have all of these things that are juicing up our cortisol on a daily basis. We have to subtract them, and then we also have to retrain our nervous system also. Yeah.
So you can see here.
Oh, yeah. So this is, I recently got back into it here in Mexico. I have a friend that, this is on an undisclosed rooftop location in town. And we get the ice delivered and pop it on there, and I go to my happy place for 5 to 10 minutes every Sunday.
I mean, the amount of shock. I still haven't done a cold plunge because I hope.
It's scary.
Yeah, it's scary. Even for me, like before you
my
hop
own
in.
soccer teammates are listening. I have sensitive skin. So temperature really affects me more than like I can't eat food where other people are shoveling it in. I have to wait like 10 minutes because it's too hot for me. And same thing with cold water, it affects me really strongly. Hot water, same thing. Like I wouldn't be able to shower at pools the way that normal people did. I'd have to like stand outside the water because it's too hot. So I wonder if maybe some cold therapy would be oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm like already like getting weird about it.
Yeah, and
it's like, how the hell do you do that, man?
Well, even for me, after doing it, hundreds and hundreds of times, I don't know how many I've done, like literally hundreds and hundreds of times, you still get the fear. But it's about overcoming the fear, and that's part of like the muscle that you train every time that helps you in other ways you couldn't have imagined. And I would not suggest someone just hop into an ice bath right away. There's ways to condition yourself, which I can teach people to do as well.
Wouldn't it be like kind of ripping off a Band-Aid though? Wouldn't you just want to cannonball in there?
I do. I cannonball in anyways. That's just what I do.
You go in slowly,
No, I don't recommend going in slowly. But what I mean is there's ways to condition yourself so that you can handle the cold. For instance, so like our background, I'm assuming that your background is also probably from UK originally, or like Northern European for sure at some level.
Yep.
Right. So
mainly UK. Yeah.
So we all saw ice ages at some point. So our physiology is kind of latent. It's prepared for that.
Yeah.
And also our mitochondria are actually go through a process of decoupling, where if you get them back to that state, they can actually make warmth from the inside.
Yeah, it's the Wim Hof method, I think.
Well, not technically, no.
Oh.
That's something else. We can talk about that. I actually am.
Well, he's an ice bath guy. I mean,
Yes, he is,
and
but
a breathing method.
But it's not. He's not activating the mitochondria's ability to decouple. What he's doing is he's using his breathing practice to make yourself less sensitive to the cold in a different way.
Oh.
I
interrupted.
I heard it was like high oxygen. You know, you're
Yes.
really oxygenating.
Yes, in a way, yes. So I have a little bit of a beef with Wim Hof. I do it like I did it.
Let's hear it.
It's not,
Wim Hof. We're gonna get him on here to debate Paul. Here it goes. Let's hear
It's like
Paul.
I love Wim Hof method for sure. It's a tool in the toolbox, and you need to know how to use it.
Right.
But it's not for me. I don't. Everybody's like we were just talking about is in a parasympathetic a sympathetic state, right? Everybody's stressed out. Let's not stress them out more. Let's teach them how to breathe properly first. And then once we have that out of the way, once their sympathetic dominance is where it needs to be, then we can introduce Wim Hof as a tool to use to do all the crazy things that Wim Hof does, or you want to jump in an ice bath. I don't need it to hop in an ice bath. I actually did it before that session because the people that I do it with practice that, and that's cool. But it is technically ramping up your stress levels when you're doing that. I actually want to do the opposite. I want to get into an ice bath and relax, and you can do that. Like you can do the opposite sort of breathing practice, which is like buteyko, which is where you're conserving the breath, and you can like I'm pretty much having a nap in that ice bath right there because I know how to like calm my nervous system down and just chill, right? So yeah, I love Wim Hof, and it's a great tool, but I don't know if it's the first place I would direct everybody to do.
Well, you mentioned like breathing to where the body generates warmth from the inside.
Yes, so it does do that. You're correct. That it does have the ability to do that. But the mitochondria decoupling, that's actually only certain backgrounds can do that. So if you're, for instance, from like, from Africa, like on the equator, your mitochondria generally does not uncouple because it's built for a different environment. Yeah. We actually, if we believe in evolution, that we migrated out of Africa and went north, my background had to adapt to the cold environment. So the mitochondria, instead of making energy, like if you, for instance, all the best sprinters in the world are generally, a lot of them are from Africa, from those equatorial.
That's true.
And
the Ethiopians in particular are insanely good at long distance running.
And it's because their mitochondria are tightly coupled. They have that power that maybe we don't have. And when we moved out, we actually gave up that power in order to heat ourselves from the inside out using our mitochondria by decoupling. So instead of having mitochondria, for those that don't know, are the power plants of the cell. They create energy for the entire body. So in this case, you're decoupling the energy production so that it can turn into free heat to heat up the body.
I don't think I inherited that.
Well, that's the thing is that I think
I have a genetics test too, and there's a 0.2% of African in there, specifically Egyptian.
Okay.
And I wonder if that's why I'm spindly and
I think that you are sensitive. Like it's not just the cold that you're sensitive, like you said. So I think that's a different thing. But I'm willing to bet that you could still decouple.
Yeah.
But the sensitivity thing is a completely different thing. I don't think it's necessarily just with cold.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is it is definitely affected by the sympathetic and parasympathetic state. As I have a very different realm of mind. I call it like sport mode. And I'm like a completely different person. Like if you ever ran into me on a soccer field back in my prime, you would not have a good time. It's a totally different person than I am. Totally different. And I'm immune to pain. Like I don't feel anything. Like I've had some pretty gnarly skateboarding injuries. One of them when I lacerated my spleen, I was bleeding internally. Another time I broke my knee in half. Both times I attempted to drive myself to the hospital because I didn't want to pay the $700 for an ambulance. But at that state of mind, I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I can do that. And then in the car, so this was when I broke my knee. In the car on the way to the hospital, the adrenaline sport mode turned off. and I started losing consciousness in the car while driving. And I had to pull over and like call my mom, you know. It was kind of funny because I pulled into, of all places, it was a graveyard. I pulled into a graveyard and like crawled out of my car, and I was like going into shock and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so, you know, I wonder if I could, like, I don't want to lean on sport mode because I think sport mode is kind of Wim Hof related, potentially.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I guess on that way. I feel
So I'd
like,
be cheating is what I'm getting at, is if I use sport mode, I'd be cheating.
I feel like you're like taking out the governor in your car and you're like willing to blow up your engine. That's what you're describing. in order to like, you know, accomplish your goals. Which
it's
not
competition,
efficient.
man.
Yeah, it's not efficient. So it's like, that's not how you want to operate on a daily basis. That's like for, you know, lifting cars off your kid that got ran over or something like that.
Yeah, or winning the ball in net game.
Yeah, sure. Anyhow, I think we're getting off into the weeds again. What were we talking about?
The parasympathetic state, Wim
that's
Hof
right.
breathing, and you're saying there's like an alternate method, essentially. I used the Wim Hof breathing technique. We were at Laguna Beach. We were at Avocado Wolf's conference there, which was awesome. Lots of freedom people. A lot of the same characters from Anarchapulco and Greater Reset and Mariposa and, you know, music. It's a lot of the same people we're finding. It's turning into a family. It's really beautiful because, you know, we're all in the same like vibe and wavelength. We're aware of the things going on, and we're actually, you know, looking for solutions in that. So that aside, we were hanging out at the hotel with the crew, the production crew that put on the event, and then Wolf like comes out and he's like, "We're all going to the beach." And it's like when he makes the proclamation, that's what's going to happen. So we all go to the beach. It was the most freezing cold I think California has ever been in like a million years.
It's cold.
It was like 15 degrees Celsius, which is, I don't know that Fahrenheit for my American friends, but it was chilly, man. Low 70s, I guess.
The ocean is cold there.
Yeah, it was cold, dude. And I didn't have a jacket, a sweater, nothing. I had shorts and a little shirt like I'm wearing now. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get out of going to hang out at the sea right now. So, you know, I went like this. I just waved my arm around. I was like, who knows Wim Hof breathing technique? 18 hands go up. They all know how to do it. So I had a guy teach me how to do it walking down to the beach, and I did it, and it worked. I wasn't shivering and I wasn't cold for like 40 minutes, where normally I would be dying, literally.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it really, really does work.
Oh yeah, absolutely does work.
I'm super curious though on your like modification on the Wim Hof.
Well, it's the exact opposite. So instead of ramping up your parasympathetic nervous system and doing the so Wim Hof is essentially like inner fire tumo breathing from. So you're literally like hyperventilating, like
Yeah.
right. So the opposite of that is to actually slow your breath down and take just small sips of air and have like longer exhales, right? And you're doing the exact opposite, and you actually do get a warming feeling from going the other way as well. Now, not only that, using the breathing practices, but there's other ways that I would acclimatize to the cold. So, for instance, you can do face dunking in ice water.
I like the sound of that.
For a period of a couple weeks. And this actually, you can do this in Canada or wherever you're from in the northern latitudes to basically acclimatize to winter as it's coming. And then also what you're eating actually beforehand. So if you eat high amounts of the amino acid tyrosine, you'll actually get a warming effect. So eating like a high protein meal, maybe like a fatty fish or something like that before going in, that'll help. I actually did, once I figured that out, I figured out that the special forces, they actually use tyrosine, the amino acid. They'll actually take like a handful of it when they're going out into the cold. And it actually does work. I bought, when I figured that out, I bought a bottle of tyrosine and just like overdosed on it. And like, it was like, for real, I was taking everything off. I was like so hot. Like, it was like almost had like fever. So yeah, there's ways, there's other ways. But again, like Wim Hof, I love Wim Hof. It's a great tool. You can use it. But I'm just saying that it's not, I don't think it's the best place to start in terms of breathing practices, because it's not teaching you how to breathe in your everyday life.
It's pretty hardcore.
It's hardcore, and it's
Yeah.
a tool that you should use in your toolbox if you're an athlete or you're trying to accomplish something. But most people need to learn how to breathe correctly first in their everyday life. So the Buteyko breathing actually trains your brain chemistry to breathe efficiently throughout your life. Which
How do you spell Buteyko?
So it's Buteyko. It's Russian. Konstantin Buteyko was his name.
Oh, like AY. Yeah.
EY. But I think you'll get it. There you go.
I found it.
Yeah.
Have you read the book Breath by James Nestor?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So I think it's Buteyko and Wim Hof are mentioned in there, along with other things as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting. So let's see.
So
Infertility therapy associated multiple pregnancies. Oh, this is where they have like quadruplets by accident?
I don't know what you're looking at. If you're looking at something, it's not on our screen. Is this a weird non sequitur of yours?
No, I mean.
Relating breath to fertility.
Yeah, so I mean, this all ties into stress management, I think, which Victoria, when you told your story a little bit, I think we were off the air, but you were telling your story a little bit that it was quite possibly stress related.
I really think that we should be looking more into how stress potentially is one of the main factors of infertility. Because I also knew someone who had like a 7% chance of being able to have kids due to his testosterone levels, and it comes from, and I believe he said like the main factor for him was stress, like stemmed from childhood trauma and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So generational trauma.
Yep.
So yeah, breathing is definitely essential for reducing our stress so that we can operate. We can operate, in a way that's parasympathetic. We're operating out of our passion, out of our inspiration, and we can help mitigate like the being more infertile by just staying in that mindset of, I have to get things done. Like I'm in the runner chaser energy of this person wants something at work. This person's asking me for something, like just that constant clutter, which also detaches us from ourselves.
Right. So yeah, it all comes down to stress. Like even stress, there's physical stress, there's mental stress, there's emotional stress, there's trauma, right? There's all these different stressors. That's really everything that we're talking about at some level, right? And
let's summarize what we got for handling stress. We got breathing techniques. We have mitigating how many alerts you have going on in your phone. This is like, no, I mean, like if you're dealing with this situation, it's like these are little things that you want to address.
Airplane mode when you go to bed. If you can have your phone on Do Not Disturb throughout the day, like that'd be great. If you know that you're gonna take a call from somebody, ask them to schedule the time.
Just ghost the world.
Ghost the world. Spend 5 to 15 minutes meditating, yoga, exercise, stretching. I do that pretty much almost every morning. The times that I skip out are the times that I'm not myself, like throughout the day. Even being consciously aware of how we speak with people and noticing their energies. So like deciding, kind of like what you mentioned, Sean, another day, it was not noticing somebody has a certain energy and deciding not to take on it, or that's them, like, and anything that we do feel triggered from people with that, it means that part of us believes that that's true, not meaning that it is, but there are so many, I personally have worked so hard to get to this point, because I myself, I ended up being diagnosed with PTSD and sleep apnea, like horror, terror nightmares every single morning, specifically in the military. And so it took me a lot to be able to get to a place where I'm not waking up absolutely terrified, or like not even able to move my body because I was so like anxious all the time. But
Wow.
some things here that I saw in Single Care Infertility Statistics 2024, how many couples are affected by infertility. It says up to 60% of infertile individuals reported psychiatric symptoms with significantly higher levels of anxiety and depression than fertile individuals. Nearly 41% of infertile women have depression. Almost 80% of infertile women have anxiety. And then I think, did I already mention? I think I might have already. Oh, okay.
I don't think you did.
But yeah, I think we definitely need to.
And it's all, for me personally, how I view it, it's all the environment, right? The environment is your emotional life. It is your spiritual life. It is the physical environment that you're in. All these are stressors. So it's like, okay, that I'm looking at that study and it's like, okay, yes, they all are correlating those things, but it's not necessarily the root cause of everything, right? There's things that they're missing there, right? We need to, like, in my particular way of dealing with anything is to break it down to the fundamentals, right? We start with the fundamentals. We don't treat the symptoms, right? Allopathic medicine is treating the symptoms. Let's break it down to what makes us human. What are the environments that we're supposed to be in? What are the social environments we're supposed to be in? What are, all those things, and start there. And that way we just fix everything downstream, right? We get right to the core of things. So
we have two more topics to go over. We have today's book. This is the Rebel Reads. This is a new thing where we're going to give a recommendation on books we have floating around the office or that we're reading on our own that we think are important and interesting and stuff that'd be fun to read. So let's get into that. Here we go. So she's just getting the book, and she's got it. You got it?
I got it.
All right. Yeah, that one. Perfect. So there's The Truth About Contagion by Tom Cowan. And did I get that right? Tom Cowan?
Yep,
Tom
you got
Cowan.
it.
So tell me about Tom Cowan. Tell me about this book. What are we learning?
I've only read a couple chapters, but it's funny that we talked about EMF exposure because the second chapter is all about how pretty much every pandemic that has gone out to the public correlates with like a boom of telegraph lines. And so that's interesting.
Yeah, so I mean the epidemiological data, even from when we started electrifying the United States, there's really good data. As it moved from, the big cities out into the boonies, as they say, right into the small towns, there's a correlation between disease rates going up, different types of cancers, and then like he's pointing out there, same with every time we reached a new generation in electromagnetic fields. So you mentioned the telegraphs. We started off with telegraphs, right? That was a certain level.
You mean telegraph, like
Yeah, we had telegraph lives, right? Telegraph lines.
I didn't know what you meant. I was like, is that an app?
No. That's the first kind of like generation, if you will. That's like 1G, right? And then we moved into like radio, AM waves and FM waves. Like AM, you don't realize it, but like an AM wave is like football fields wide. Like that's
right? How they get around the world, right? Penetrate things.
Gigantic. And you go to the complete other end of the spectrum, we have 5G. That's at the level of your cell. That's how pinpointed it is, right? It's the
I didn't know they were that dense.
Yeah, that's my. Oh my God.
I thought they were microwave. Like in a microwave, how it has those circle windows. The window on the front of a microwave has like a grating.
Yeah.
And that grating, those little holes in that grating are actually sized specifically to prevent.
Oh boy, I got news for you, buddy.
Wavelength to go through.
I got news for you. I have never tested a microwave that didn't leak. Brand new ones right off the shelf. So I have all the gear to measure, radio frequency. I've never measured a microwave that didn't leak. Well, first of all, don't use a microwave.
So let's.
So like if you, for whatever reason you do.
I don't use a microwave. I haven't for a long time. And for reasons that I don't fully understand, to be fair, but what it's doing molecularly to the food, the food that you put into, to my understanding, okay, is the food you put in a microwave and then heat it up. The food you take out is not the same thing anymore.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
You're dehydrating the food. Like it's essentially we're in a gigantic microwave oven right now.
Right.
So literally all the electromagnetic fields that have ever been put out since the days of radar, when they first invented radar back in World War II, it's all been bouncing around, most of it. Some of it escapes, obviously. It's been bouncing around in the Earth's ionosphere, like in the Earth. And so we've created this, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. We're literally living in a microwave oven right now. It has the dehydrating ability of putting steak in the microwave oven. Right?
Oh, it really
we're all
does.
steak
It
being
does. It's
dehydrated,
just slower
basically.
rate.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't use a microwave, but then again, we are all in a microwave at the same time. So, yeah, there's levels.
Well, can you show me the book again, please?
So, yeah.
Okay, so the truth about contagion, what is, I know you've only gotten into about 3 chapters about it, but has he gotten close to what the truth about contagion actually means? Because this is a rich topic here.
I haven't, but I've definitely listened to a lot of Tom Cowan, and he takes the stance that all viruses have actually not ever been truly isolated. And so
Yeah.
I did my own, okay, I definitely want to look into a method lab section of SARS-CoV-2 to find out that it's like scientists are using dead monkey kidney cells and having this stuff go into a cytopathic effect, and it just doesn't make sense.
It's a witch's brew, basically. They're putting all this crazy stuff together, mixing it up, and then they're like, oh, here's the virus.
Oh, the PCR test was like the dumbest clown world joke I've ever seen in my entire life, that people took that seriously. It's like the guy that invented the test literally went to Congress to testify that they are doing it incorrectly, and
Yeah.
they're giving misleading and manipulative results.
Yeah.
And it goes to show the control of the media. It's like you can give someone the truth, you can hit them over the head with it, but if they're so ideologically possessed, or their ego is attached to their belief system, nothing shakes them, and they will burn a redheaded woman at the stake thinking that she's a witch with ghosts inside. Like that scared me, actually, when that, it was like, one way I was like, ha, people are dumb, but also it was like, uh-oh.
So,
Like, if people are falling for that, when the guy is on the news testifying and it's out there, the information is out there, and people still are like, get your PCR test before you come into work, and still making it a thing, it's like, holy crap, are we even living in civilization anymore? Does democracy even make sense? If everyone's allowed to vote, but everyone's stupid enough to believe that, is democracy a good system at all? And I'm in the position now that I don't think democracy is. I think like 8 out of 10 people should not be allowed to vote. Men, women, doesn't matter. I don't think most men should be able to vote. I think it's scary. I mean, I'm sorry to segue off this a little bit.
I'll bring us back when you're done ranting.
Okay. I mean, the situation with, it's like, oh, all the progress and difficulty we had to topple dictatorships and oligarchies and monarchies and whatnot, to have democracy, and it's like, yes, this is what we want. But really, a monarchy or a secret group of people can go in and manipulate the minds of the population and just get them to do what they want anyway. What's the point of democracy? If people can't even understand that a PCR test is not being used in the way that it's designed, as per the guy that invented them testifying in court, and they still go through the ridiculous circus for another 2 years, I think there's a big problem there with society in general, which is, I'm learning about solar panels. I'm learning about growing my own food, okay? Because I don't think, it's like, I'm at the position now where it's like, is the only thing that's going to fix anything is a benign dictatorship? Because historically, benign dictatorships have always been very successful for the duration that they last. The problem with a benign dictatorship is, how do you transfer power? Because it turns into...
How do you do it at scale, though, also?
Right.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like the idea of benign dictatorship, because what if the guy or girl, gets in a car accident and gets slight brain damage and the personality change? It's not the same person it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just have a brain, who knows?
The crazy king now.
The crazy king. And then now you have the mad king burning people alive in the foyer. It's not good for business. So, there's no easy solution there, but again, I'm going to be the guy that's going to point out the problems.
So-
And there's a problem there. Do I have a solution just yet? No, but.
Two things that I wanted to. One thing is my friend and I we were joking about creating like an anarchist president, where we vote for an anarchist president, and then the entire system, like is it's it's
It would have to be
decentralized.
totally counterintuitive. Like, so rate on 1 to 10 merit, and then 1 to 10 desire to be in power. So you want 10 out of 10 on merit, and you want 0 out of 10
Exactly.
on desire for power. That's like the perfect leader, is the leader that the people select that doesn't even want to do it. That's the person that's going to be a good leader, because a good leader understands that it's not a fun job, and it's not easy or desirable to have the responsibility of hundreds, thousands, or millions of people in your prerogative. It's not a good place to be. It's not a job that you should desire. It's not something you should want to do if you were going to do it properly. So the people that want to be in the leadership positions and want these things generally don't have an understanding of the job. They're not responsible enough to do a good job. And number 3, their intentions are probably not good anyway.
What do you all think about voluntarism?
I would say I'm a voluntarist.
Same.
What is voluntarianism?
Well, I first heard about it through actually, what's his name?
Alex Zek?
There's Alex Zek, but I didn't hear about him first. Oh my God, my brain is
Etienne de la
blanking.
Boutique?
I know him as well. He's, I don't know about, I like some of his stuff.
The most prominent voluntarianism.
I'm thinking of a Canadian. He was a Canadian.
A Canadian guy. Okay,
yeah.
I'm thinking Derek Brose.
Yep.
He's a big proponent of that. But I'm not like, I don't have a nice buttoned up definition of it. That's why I'm asking you guys.
Well, it's basically kind of like the golden rule.
Do
know
unto
what I mean?
others as you do unto yourself.
Right? Yeah,
right?
it's a way of self-governance. And obviously when we say the word voluntarist, I couldn't give you an actual definition of what it would be, but there's a lot of different, just like we have anarcho-capitalism, and there's different ways to do it, right? There's different flavors, I would say.
Yeah.
But it has those core elements of it that they all have, where it's like, do no harm unto others. I'm not going to mess up your property. You're not going to mess up my property. If we have a problem, we're going to deal with it one-on-one kind of
Deal with it like adults.
Yeah.
Without an overarching parental figure.
We don't need the third party involved, basically.
Or at least if there is a third party, it would be one of equal stature in a
Yeah, we
peer.
would agree to that. It wouldn't be the state though. It would be
No.
like, for instance, the person, which I can't remember his name, but he wrote a few books that I read, and like what societies could look like.
Samuel Konkin.
Konkin, yeah, Konkin. A lot of this stuff is based on Konkin's work, but I didn't read him first.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of Konkin's ideas would be there. Like, so you would have, if the state didn't exist, you could have almost like insurance companies that if you had a dispute, you would call them in, and you would basically have like insurance against everything kind of deal, right? And so like the state wouldn't be involved in regulating everything. It's just like if you have a problem, well, you're paying this kind of, it's for lack of a better term to call it insurance company. They have a bad rap, obviously, in a lot of different ways, but I can't remember the actual term that they would use. There's a specific term. But it would kind of keep the peace, because it would have like a third party kind of arbitration in place for, if someone was polluting on your property or whatever it is, right? You would call these guys up, they would come in and arbitrate and settle the dispute, essentially.
Yeah, neighbors can get in some pretty nasty entanglements, man. So it says on Google here, I cheated.
Yeah, this is not what we mean.
I cheated. This is interesting, though, the
It is
definition they give, because
Yeah, it's
voluntarism is not something that I think they want people to figure out,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So here's well, it does have
The non-aggression principle is like part of it as well. I think that's what I was thinking of. So that's Konkin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like supporting churches, schools, various other institutions by voluntary contributions rather than with state funds.
Yeah, and I guess, and so it's like,
So that is somewhat
so before
relevant.
the state was as big as it is now, we did rely on things like churches, to do, like we didn't have welfare, for instance, or we didn't have these social programs. So the church would it was like an element, whether you like it or not, in our society that took care of those things. They would feed the poor. They would take people in that needed help, right? We don't have that system anymore. And now the state has taken over that, right? Through all the social programs.
And then it's the state is at a kind of a satellite position to the community. So it doesn't really necessarily represent what the community wants. It's representing what the state thinks the community wants, or the state
How
is
they're trying to psyop you.
pushing
Yeah,
the community
whatever, yeah.
to want.
The
All right,
narrative.
so I will safely say that I am also a voluntarianist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3 out of 3.
3 out of 3. There it
Yeah.
is. So on the docket here, this is our last topic. We'll button it up with this. Juice cleansing and how it can mitigate the extinction level event.
I'm going to actually probably be the devil's advocate on the other side of this argument.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. So what do I have here? I got fruit juices, helpful or harmful, health benefit of fruit juice in the microbiome. No, you don't. Okay, so I have some articles here that go both sides of the argument. We'll go with health benefit of this one. This is the NCBI. They're a sciencey type organization, right? So let's see what they got going on here. Polyphenols, oligosaccharides, fiber, nitrate, beet juice may induce probiotic-like effect. It may produce. They're already using lawyer speak within one sentence.
Well,
it may provide under potential health benefits.
You're reading, controlled studies here. Like, you're gonna get the jargon. So,
Yeah, so it looks like they did an A/B study. 20 healthy adults consumed only fruit only. So they did a juice thing and then 2 weeks of normal eating.
mm-hmm.
Day 4, they started
Normal
losing
eating.
weight, and they kept losing weight.
That's a good point. What is normal eating?
Yeah, right. They didn't define that part of the study. That's interesting. So the whole study's bunk, essentially.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you that most randomized control studies are bunk. We can get into that in a second whenever you want me to.
Well,
That's what's
I'm leaning towards what you're putting down there because right away we're missing some very important details of what constitutes a so-called healthy diet. I don't think, at least in America, North America, Canada, the Western world, probably Europe too, people eat a lot of garbage. Try and find something that's not poisonous at the gas station, right? And we're going to be doing a segment on that, by the way, on future shows where we're gonna highlight particularly unhealthy food. I don't know if we should find stuff that's masquerading as being healthy and it's not, or just find stuff that's pure poison. We'll go for both. We'll go for both. There's a lot of poison out there, and we're gonna start policing that a little bit on the show. We're gonna highlight some particular bad offenders. Everything.
Don't take me grocery shopping.
Yeah.
I will crush your dreams.
Yeah. You'll be eating just grass and different plants that you grow in your yard. That's it. It says day 4 plasmic nitric oxide was increased 244 to 89%, plus minus 89%.
Yeah,
So that's a
beats.
lot.
That's the beats.
Yeah. So this is saying a 3-day juice cleanse. You're getting weight loss effects right after the juice cleanse for another slightly more than 2 weeks. So why would that be?
Well, okay. I mean, first of all, randomized control studies don't control for a lot of things.
Sure.
Right? And the biggest elephant in the room would be the light environment. Again, the electromagnetic spectrum. And then, of course, what they consider normal, right? And anything that you change in your life, like that's really what it comes down to. If you do any change, lifestyle-wise, health-wise, diet-wise, you're going to see effects from it. Doesn't matter what it is, right? That's why people can go on a whatever diet, ABC diet. They're going to see effects. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to solve their root cause. It's not going to, right? Any change that you make. That's why people can make all kinds of claims with supplements and all that stuff. we are, and to the point of randomized control studies, especially on, a lot of them are done, and this is on humans obviously, but a lot of them are done on lab rats, right, and different mammals that are nocturnal.
Interesting.
We are diurnal animals.
I actually wanted to talk to you about that in your circadian rhythm and light thing. Like, how does that apply to the millions of species of nocturnal creatures? They just tune.
Well, they have a completely different system than we do. They have a day-night cycle, so their clocks are tuned differently than we are. Their eating schedules are different than we are. The things that they eat are, like, there's all these different factors. So if you're comparing us to lab rats, and the lab rats are living under artificial light all the time, right? Not in their natural environment. That's screwing up all of their metabolism, all of their hormones, right? How the hell does that make any sense to compare that data to us? Which we're also kind of like lab rats in a way, because we're living in these artificial environments too, but we're the complete opposite. We're daytime mammals living in like a 24/7 artificial world with non-native EMF and artificial lights, and we don't see the sun. And then you've got the nocturnal animals. They're living in the opposite environment. They're supposed to be in the lab being shone onto these big bright lights, and it's throwing off everything I just mentioned. It makes absolutely no sense. However, I will say that some of the literature on fasting, and increasing lifespan, that is probably legit. That's like probably some of the most legit studies for longevity. However, you don't want to be cold and miserable for the rest of your life. So, the fasting, I love fasting. I do water fasts, but it's a tool in the toolbox. You got to know how to use it, when to use it, who should be using it, when do they use it, and it's not necessarily a cure-all for everything. The other thing I don't like, and I'm going to play devil's advocate, because I know you said you were on like a complete, like a juice fast, but just, with fruits. So we don't have time to get in. We need to do a whole episode on this, but we need to talk about deuterium. Okay? And so without getting into what that is, everything that we eat should be programmed by the photosynthetic web. All food is programmed by the sun. Okay? The only food that's not programmed by the sun is the artificial foods out there, right? Those artificial foods, because they're outside of the food web, is high in this substance called deuterium. It will break the motors of your mitochondria. Now, tropical fruits are also naturally high in deuterium. And why is that? Because you're supposed to be eating them in their natural environment where we are now. We're in a low latitude level where we should be getting enough sunshine, we should be sweating, we should be doing all the things in this environment to help get that substance out of us that we may be getting from the tropical fruits. However, in our modern world, we're just getting it from all angles. I don't like the fruit fast specifically because of that, unless you're living an outdoor lifestyle out here, which you possibly could do. It's the best place you'd want to do it. And if you're living in Canada or you're living in Wisconsin in December, you really should not be doing a fruit juice fast, in my opinion. You're sending mixed signals to your biology, to your circadian clock. Your mitochondria actually read the entire environment, all of the electromagnetic spectrum, be that light, sound, vibration, and also the food that you're eating has a barcode in it that it's reading. And if you're eating a banana, in Wisconsin in December, you're sending mixed signals. That creates literally like signaling molecules in the body are going off that aren't supposed to be there. So it's not an acute response where you'd be like, oh my God, I have a headache from eating the banana in December, but it's something that's very slight, but it domino effects into other things. You wouldn't be able to tell. And it's just like goes back to Ayurveda, right? Like Ayurveda teaches you want to eat local and a lot of those same principles. There's actually a reason for that. Like it's built into nature. We're the one that's too smart for our own good. We have food available everywhere all the time. Everything's on demand no matter where you are on the earth. It's causing problems. So the juice fast thing, I like juice fasts, but maybe not so much on, the pure fruit juice fast. Like I want like more green juices, stuff that's lower in sugar, and has a lot of the compounds that we were talking about in this study, that are good, like the polyphenols and stuff like that to help with the gut bacteria. However, the gut is programmed by light and the electromagnetic spectrum. All the gut bacteria in your stomach right now are actually releasing extremely low UV light and different light frequencies in your stomach. Like, it all comes back to light at the end of the day. And so I'm more concerned about your environment dictating your microbiome than necessarily which particular fruits and vegetables you're eating so much. There's like an order of operations and things. So that's where these studies fail miserably, in my opinion.
So how's your experience been with juice fasting, Victoria?
So when I started awakening to becoming aware of like terrain theory, terrain science, terrain model, I didn't, first of all, like, disclaimer, I didn't know that there was this controversy of like germ theory versus terrain theory. I just found, I found the terrain theory podcast. I was like, oh, wow. Like, this is so cool. Like, all of this information.
That's cool.
And I lived alone in Washington for pretty much October 2022 to November 2023, and then I moved to Sacramento, and now I'm here in Mexico. But when I started learning about all of this new health information, of course, there are a lot of different people saying a lot of different things, and I like to, there's like fruitarianism, breatharianism, like carnivorism. There's all these different types, and listening, also the way forward. I like listen to a lot of people whom Alex Zek interviews, and I like to say, to start off, "There is no one right way to live" by Daniel Quinn, who wrote the book Ishmael.
No relation?
No relation.
Oh, okay.
Spiritual relation.
Quantum entanglement relation.
Yes,
There.
exactly. I heard from somebody whom Alex Zek interviewed that our blood types are related to different human species, how they evolved. That's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can use that word here. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're allowed.
Like blood, I heard that blood O was kind of, so.
The best?
More.
The best.
Yeah, more for carnivore, they say, or would more eat meat, right?
And I
actually-
definitely lean towards eating meat more, but I don't know if that has to do with my blood. Sorry, go ahead.
That's actually a good point, because I'm not sure if the person said that. I heard that the person said, like, definitely fruits for blood O.
Okay.
Maybe
kinda wrong.
other,
I'm
maybe
kinda
other
wrong.
different. That might be true though. With like,
Shit.
blood A was like fruits and nuts and some veggies, and then the blood AB was anything with B is the agriculture part. So the wheat, dairy. So I'm blood type A. As much as I love bread and cheese and everything, I do notice it kind of sits in my system for longer, and it takes longer to process. But so I started going on my own little fruit fast. I would do like 3-day, 5-day, 7-day. I would do like only teas. I would do fruits, and I was just kind of trying out what feels good with me. I also like mycology, mushrooms. I was like, oh, definitely taking tinctures of like shilajit, lion's mane mushrooms, just all of that, and so I was just kind of testing myself, and then I ended up doing a 21-day water fast, just kind of out of the blue. I just was like, and the reason why is because I heard something from Lauren Lockman, some things that were really enticing in a podcast, but also I was like, well, I've been jabbed with so many different like vaccines, like all of this stuff. Like in my military records, like they jab you with everything.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, well, I don't even know how toxic my blood is, but I would like to see if there are natural ways for me to heal myself. So I don't know if the 21-day water fast did anything. However,
I'll tell you, it did. For sure it did.
I hope so.
For sure it did.
I hope so. But and then also learning that there are ancient practices of fasting, and they would fast sometimes for 40 days. Like
that's like David Wolf is. He does extremely long water fasts. He says like you should do as many days as you are old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Work yourself up to that.
You
He's
gotta
not like
work
do it right
yourself
away,
up.
but you work yourself
You got to
up.
listen to the body too.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, we live in a toxic environment, and the body is naturally storing toxins in our fat cells mostly, and it's doing it intelligently. And sometimes when we do these water fasts, we can have these massive dumps of things that the body was sequestering because it doesn't have the ability to necessarily detox it, because our detox pathways are often not functioning in a lot of people in the modern world as well. So it's like you don't want to override the body's natural intelligence at the same time. Right?
Maybe on the next show I'll show our new. We got this new device from Russia called a mission coil, and it stimulates your cellular membranes to my understanding so far. We're still learning this thing. We got sent one to investigate and use and see how we like it. To my understanding, what it does is it puts your cellular membranes in the proper electrical resistance for optimum function. So if your cells are slow or unhealthy or clogged up, which most of the time they are, they will either do one of two things. They will expel any waste into your bloodstream, which is why you're supposed to do it on your kidney and your liver first, right? You do your kidney and liver first, and then you go to different organ systems. Or they will go into apoptosis, which means they die, which is good. You want your cells to, off themselves when it's appropriate. If they stick around for too long, start reproducing out of control, that's cancer.
The recycling system to be on, because you don't want to be killing everything.
Exactly.
Conserve
Yeah, so I think what you were saying was a healing crisis, which is something that actually Baudrillard talks about a lot, because we get people going through that, where they'll come and get treatment with us, and then they'll break out in like hives, or have and hives is an autoimmune reaction. For those that don't know, that's a histamine reaction, which is your immune system going into overdrive and actually becoming detrimental to yourself. So like an allergic reaction is not a good thing. that's you can die from it, literally. But I mean, your cells aren't in your mind, and your body's kind of its own machine apart from your brain and who you are as a person.
And also, our body is also like really intuitive. Like,
Yeah.
So during some of the fruit fasts, I just felt inclined to buy raw goat milk, and drink that with, and I realized too, I was like, oh, okay, out of all of my sisters, so it's me and 3 sisters, I was the one who wasn't breastfed. They all were except for me, so I didn't get the proper and then what I want to do as far as tracking my blood. So I took some blood tests, some related to fertility and some for, seeing like related to detoxing, just like kind of a panel of a lot of different blood tests and then urine tests. And so I took the test about a week ago, or last Tuesday. I started the fruit juice fast. It was mostly, even though I say 70-80%, it was more like 80-90% juice, and then I ate some fruits this week, but definitely mostly juice. And then starting tomorrow, I'm going to do a water fast for 8 days, and I want to see. And then I'm going to take the same test that I took last Tuesday, and then see if there's any difference. But I would really like to track to see, okay, if this is true, if I do see that like some things happen for the better, I would like to show that.
Yeah, it comes down to, again, if you're going to quantify things, you kind of have to have those controlled things, and you want to be able to do the right tests that aren't going to be thrown off by other things in your environment, right? So I like the way that you're going. You're going to do your own N=1. What I was talking about before with the randomized control studies, and they're not controlling for everything. They don't really understand what they're doing. And so like I was in the same place as you, when I was searching and I was throwing everything against the wall to see if it stuck. And that was good. I had to do that. I had to like explore like the extreme things to get to somewhere, right? So I get the mission that you're on. But there is, there's definitely things that you can do like smart, and then there's things where it's like, if you're going to do that way, you can waste a lot of money on testing if you're not really sure what you're looking for. So we can talk about that.
I'm trying to get this study up, but it's not cooperating. Oh, there we go.
And it's good to learn, like, too, from other people
Sure.
because, like, there is part of me, I'm like, I don't know, like,
Mhm.
I'm just here to see the results. Like, I'm here to go through it and see the results, and if it doesn't work, it's like, oh, well, darn.
There's a lot of people in the freedom community that really, really love their water fast. They're all about water fast. It's very, very popular. And these people are very smart. So they might be onto something.
I like water fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I give a thumbs up on the water fast as long as you're doing it in a way where you're working up to it. You know, you have the proper hormonal things in place to do that, right? You can graduate from intermittent fasting to water fast. That's a great idea. And then also listening to your body. If you're having a healing reaction or something like that, you need to cut the fast.
What would you recommend? Like, so you know that I'm going on a water fast. Like, as far as
What's funny is that you're going from the juice fast to the water fast, right? So, like, you know, one of the ways in conditioning to go to the water fast, you want to, you know, do less sugar, right? Because you're trying to take your body into a place where it's going to go into ketosis and run off your fat for fuel, right? But if you've just been mainlining sugar for the last however many days, it's like you're going like 100. You're going to stop on a dime and do 100 miles the other direction. Might not be the most, you know, what's the word? Like, you know, graceful switch. But yeah.
So maybe like a little buffer.
Yeah, maybe take a break. Maybe don't go into
Or
the water fast.
like,
right away.
you know, phase it in and each, you know. It's not as fun that way, but
so maybe like switch a bit to veggies, like, or like before I.
Yeah, like maybe more fat as well, right? To get your body used to metabolizing the fat for energy. Because you have two pathways where your brain is using sugar, that's like the default thing, right, for energy, but it's a quick energy. It's like putting, you know, if you have like a fire, putting fat is like putting a log on the fire, and then, you know, eating a high sugar diet is more like putting, you know, like straw or some kindling on the fire, right? It won't last as long. So by conditioning yourself to eat more fat for a while and keep the carbs really low, you're going into like a ketogenic diet, or maybe you're doing intermittent fasting, however you want to accomplish that, then it's not so much of a hard switch over to burning your body's fat for fuel when you're doing the water fast. Essentially what you're doing. And also, another thing that we didn't talk about is your mitochondria actually make water, and it makes it most efficiently from fat as well. So there's, you know, if you're able to do that efficiently while you're on the water fast, then you're going to get a more clean burning fuel. It's not going to be so rough. So yeah, there's all.
Those are good points.
right on.
Yeah.
So we'll touch upon the
I might
progress.
change
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll touch upon the progress modifications that you're going to do in your journey here. 'Cause it sounds like you're on a journey. I think that,
Oh, yeah.
you know, all journeys are going to take some time. So, you know, if you want to hear more about Victoria's journey, leave a comment. And also, we're going to be exploring some other topics too, health, but also goings-ons, political situations in the world, this kind of thing. We're going to be interpreting our own conspiracy theories. There's developments in the physics world that are absolutely insane going on right now that no one is talking about, except for about 12,000 people. That's it. Out of how many people are on the planet now? 9 billion?
We're really special.
So the government of the United Kingdom and India know about this technology, and they're already implementing it. And it is, very smart how the engineers are coming out with it. We'll talk about that in another show in the future. I'm really excited about it. It's a topic that I've been researching the past couple months and just kind of getting my mind wrapped around it, because I mean, it's not just like, oh, a new box that does a thing. And you turn it on, wow. It has implications of verifying things like source energy, other dimensions, time travel, alchemy. All these things are not in the realm of science fiction anymore. These things are absolutely 100% real. And so when you're on the phone with someone, you both think of the same thing at the same time. You say, oh, I just thought of that. You just said, isn't that neat? There's quantum entanglement might not just be a fun thing that happens when people are talking with each other. It might actually be real. And we're actually communicating on a substructure of ether that is electrical in nature and has infinite energy potential in it. Anyways, that's in a nutshell that subject, but I'm really looking forward to getting in with that. Also, we're going to do another show with Victoria coming up, where we're going to learn a bit more about how she got started on this journey, where she comes from, and the things that she's learning, and the people that are influencing her in what we all hope is a higher state of living and being and enjoying life. So we're excited for that. And any book recommendations, conspiracy theories, send them into the email. I'm going to put it into the comments, topics that you'd like, or even guests that you'd like to see on the show. Open to suggestions. We love the feedback, so hit us with it all. Don't be shy. Just do it, man. Any final thoughts?
I didn't get into half or even a quarter of what I wanted to talk about in terms
So
of like
Paul Roy he does personal coaching. Go ahead, Paul. Tell him what you do.
So I'm an environmental and lifestyle coach. I work with I Heal Collective. I work remotely. I work in person. If someone wants to get a consult with me, I have a specific process that we go through. There's an initial consult. It's about 2.5 to 3 hours. And we go through my process. It's called the 5 Pillars of Health. We deal with a lot of the things that we talked about today. They are light, magnetism, water, air, movement, and the most important, which is your mindset, emotional, and spiritual aspect of your life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the foundation of everything. You could argue that's the most important one, depending on who it is, but everybody has their own context. So I work one-on-one for the most part, and depending on who you are, where you come from, who your mother was, who your grandmother was, like we talked about earlier, we can craft a plan for you. What do we need to subtract? What do we need to add back into your environment to reach optimal? That's what I did for myself. That's what I help others to do today. So if you're interested in doing that, please send me an email. My email is, hopefully he can put this in
I'll
there.
put it
the
in
magic
there, yeah.
somewhere around here.
Yep.
Paul J. Roy, 84 at protonmail.com.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to wrap it up with that. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot more shows. Victoria has been so kind to help me out on this show with getting some of the scientific news articles and picking out books. And, I hope that keeps going because it really adds a lot of quality to the show, and it allows me to do stuff like cool graphics and write scripts. So that's exciting. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show and you learned something, or at least it started you on the path to learning something. Because as Morpheus says, no one can be shown what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. All right, that's Jab Rehab. We'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
In Japan, a country known for its citizens' longevity and vitality later in life, there were special pools where people could bathe in the waters that was recently churned through the inner workings of a mountain. People who bathed in this Hansa water felt a certain rejuvenation. We now know that this effect is a result of the abundance of hydrogen in the water.
Our clinic recreates this with the IHG 600 Brown's gas electrolyzer, so you can enjoy the benefits of hydrogen Brown's gas in your own home.
Hydrogen in every form is our most important macronutrient, vitamin H. It is healing and rejuvenating.
Around 62% of the human body is made of hydrogen, 24% oxygen, and the remaining 12 and 2% everything else. Most of us are hydrogen deficient, and this affects the rate that we age. When this happens, the body starts shutting down first the regeneration system, then the immune system, and eventually the organs. We do not uptake all of the water that we drink. This is why we structure an alkaline water. This helps the uptake rate, but there is vast room for improvement. Ideally, we want our water to be plasma, that is in the blood the minute it enters our body, not after the digestion process. And there is a way to do this.
Increased hydrogen saturation has amazing regenerative and healing effects.
The IHG 600, engineered by Ed Wonder, is designed to provide the efficacy of both hydrogen gas and water.
Stay tuned for our next video where we talk about the science behind this.
For those of you not able to join us in Mexico, we can teach you how to set up your own machine. Please subscribe to our social media and follow us on our journey to healing and hydration. Crisis. There is an epidemic sweeping humanity, but it's not what you think. Or maybe you do.
The pharmaceutical industry, through the medical profession, has changed what was once a healthcare system into now a disease system.
People have lost trust in traditional institutions. They're failing to find the answers they need, or even feeling deceived. The system is broken.
Now, more than ever before, people are seeking answers in the alternative health world. This is creating a massive opportunity. Have you ever asked yourself why alternative healing is called alternative healing?
When it's literally been around for thousands of years!
We think you do, but let's get to the point. Mixed modality healers are needed now more than ever before. Not only needed, they're in demand, and that's why we're calling on you. Hello, I'm Baudrey Fraser, the lead practitioner here at I Heal Collective, and I'm super excited today to talk to you about our new mixed modality course that we've crafted just for you.
It's a purge, it's a purge, it's a purge.
We have combined powerful modalities such as advanced reflexology, deep tissue bodywork, cupping, lymphatic drainage, sound and vibrational healing, and more for you to power up your practice.
Join us in paradise!
Our healing center in tropical West Coast Mexico is where you learn why mixed modality treatments are not just the past, but the future of healthcare. Are you ready to be a part of that?
We think you are.
Side effects? How about feeling great?
We know what they're trying to make you believe.
But the truth is, we can learn to heal ourselves.
The mixed modality course that I've just taken part in here in Extinction,
a mixed modality course, I thought it was something I really needed to do.
I want to be able to offer my services to as many people as possible, and I just want to have the skills to be able to meet people's needs as much as I can.
To help the people in my life and also myself, to follow my guidance, I guess, my intuition.
I think it's going to just give people that ability to help people in a bigger, deeper way with lasting effects and life-changing effects.
The mixed modality course that I've just taken part in here in Extinction brings together different modalities, all working towards releasing tension, trauma, and all sorts of ailments, if you like, in the body.
Bo is on point. She's quick. There's never a dull moment.
She was very warm and welcoming, wants to make you feel comfortable and welcomed into the space.
Information comes fast.
She's a wild, witchy woman is what I kind of found, and quite intense and really in depth in everything that she does. She speaks quite fast, so be ready.
There's also the kind of depth of knowledge and information that she has that's there as well, which makes you feel like, wow, there's a lot to learn from her.
There's no time for daydreaming. Then all evening you spend processing everything that you learn during the day. It's, to me, a much better way of teaching.
But also just her generosity and everything that she's trying to achieve in terms of healing really shines through as well. She has a really good blend of being really direct. If she sees something's not going quite right, she'll be straight in there and let you know.
Hearing Bo speak about mixed modality and the fact that you need to bring all these different components together.
There's different techniques you use: sound healing, reflexology, Rainer massage.
I really feel like this actually just gave me the last couple of extra really key tools to bring it all together, all of the movement, the body work, the coaching and emotional work.
It all works together to release all the physical and emotional tension we hold in our bodies.
There was just a couple of little bits left, and this is the last final course that I've done that just molds it all together really nicely.
With the tension bands, that was quite a big moment of, wow, it is all connected.
I didn't know how amazing the sound tuning forks would be, seeing what happened in the body when I was using them, so that was really exciting.
Bo was actually working on one of my fellow students who had a major energetic release, and I saw this energy coming from her. I couldn't say exactly where it was coming from. I was watching how she could move energy and how her client's body reactions were and how he was releasing some really powerful stuff.
I just experienced, it sounds weird to say because it feels like cliche, but it's just a really transformative release.
This is what I really wanted, and I found the right person, and I'm just so blown away right now.
I got on the table for myself, and what I experienced was hard to put into words.
I know that she was drawing from all her wealth of expertise.
Taking these blockages and releasing them by transmuting them to herself. I mean, it's really amazing. It's really intense to think about. She did a really amazing job, and I feel calmer today, like more relaxed. Things were released that had been bottled up that I didn't even know about.
You know, she was telling me a little bit about her training, and you hear that a lot of people say, we're trained here and there, but my God, she is really a master, an absolute master of her craft.
We believe in the success of our students, so our class sizes are small and intimate, and they fill up fast. So sign up now and join the collective.
For the healing of the collective.